Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's Thursday. As Dominic would say, that makes it Friday Eve. Got Evan on the board. Dominic, a excused absence. And normally when he ducks out, it's unexcused. But he's bringing his lovely young daughter, Isabella, taking her to the airport, putting her on a big old jet airliner to the Czech Republic. It's going to be a little scary, Dan.
Yeah, that's spooky.
So Dom will be forgiven this one time, and you'll be back on Friday. I believe he's joining me in Waukesha, broadcasting from the Shaw tomorrow. We're hoping to have a couple of fine guests. A couple of legal eagles have been requested. I am strongly convinced that James Santel is joining us, and also Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel Maggie Dawn. So we're hopeful to have a couple of the big shots tomorrow down in Waukesha with us. But today I want to talk about what my kids have made a lifetime tradition. I live in Middleton. I live, effectively off the west side of Madison. And we've grown up there. My kids have grown up there. And through the entirety of their life, we've always celebrated sort of the unofficial end of summer is the Middleton Good Neighbor Festival. And they have it at the Fireman's Park, right next to the school. Same place where the Hellbox were throwing the Jesus lunches. I think they're still doing that. But anyways, we've got a little kerfluffle associated with the Middleton Good Neighbor Festival this weekend. And apparently, my Wisconsin community, Middleton, is banning politicians from marching in the hometown parade. Well, that doesn't seem very good neighborly of us, does it? And I would like to blame and place blame. And sometimes there is blame to place with Vicki McKenna. In Hamilton, this guy running to be Dane County Sheriff, this Republican candidate, he ain't going to win. So why are you stirring up and wrecking the Good Neighbor Festival? Let me tell you folks about it. Maybe this one just catches me. It's in my backyard, close to home. My boys, I don't know. The oldest just snuck off to college here. We took him out to dinner last night. But the younger, I think him and his buddies probably going to the Good Neighbor Festival. It's a carnival, and they got the beer tent, not so much for the kids. But they do have the rides, and, they have the big events, and it's the one summer festival. It's kind of at the end of summer. Well, organizers of an upcoming Dane County parade banned politicians and candidates from office from marching, despite previously allowing incumbents and current officials to participate. So Sunday morning, and we live on the street that is part of sort of the beginning of the parade route. So if we just go up to the end of Mendota Avenue and University Avenue in Middleton, well, that's where the parade starts. That's where they line them all up. And when my boys were little shavers, they were Cub Scouts. And we'd march them in the parade. We'd get the big old boxes of hard candy and stuff. And we'd let the scouts throw the candy out to the kids. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, we had to make sure we were hydrating the kids. It always gets hot. August weather, it's supposed to be hot. But it was one of the fun traditions. And part of the tradition, I often found myself sitting on the curb. Didn't always march with the Cub Scouts. But we would sit on the curb, get our folding chairs out, and we'd park them there pretty early, and we'd get good spots. And we'd watch all the local kids and the organizations and the 4-H and, the scouts and the local marching high school bands and the politicians. The politicians would always come marching by. I mean, I've shook many a hand, be it Russ Feingold, be it Mark Pocan. Hell, I think Tony Evers has walked by. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Tony has done the Good Neighbor Festival at least a couple of times recently. But this year, all bets are off. All politicians are banned because of Vicki McKenna and this Dane County Sheriff candidate, Anthony Hamilton. So here's the deal. Restrictions on the Sunday event, again, that's the parade portion of the Good Neighbor Festival, were put into place after complaints were lodged by conservatives, who are whiny bitches sometimes, but let me continue, who wanted GOP candidates to participate since Middleton area elected officials are all Democrats. What do they say? Elections have consequences. If you can't win a frickin' election, you don't get to march in the local parade in Middleton. If the Dems keep winning, it's because we're a pretty good blue community. But anyways, let me read on. Some comments made on social media, including one that suggested Republican candidates should walk in the parade anyway, oh yeah, and bring firearms, prompted organizers to ban all politicians from the event, according to a statement from the Middleton Good Neighbor Festival. Now, Republican candidate for Dane County Sheriff Anthony Hamilton, in a radio appearance last week, called the parade policy, and here was Hamilton's quote, "a very clear violation of the law." Not clear that it is. Called upon his supporters to push back against the city, sparking the debate. Here's the quote from Hamilton on the Vicki McKenna show. Right-wing talk radio, down the dial. More of you listening to me than ever listen to Vicki. I'd just point that out. The Middleton Good Neighbor Parade has forbidden any Republican from walking in their thing this week coming up, only incumbents. And I'd like to reach out to all your listeners and have them call the Middleton Good Neighbor organization and the city of Middleton and protest the decision, Hamilton said. Now, festival president Nancy Vickery said one threat that prompted the new policy to have Middleton, and here's the statement as related by Vickery, to have Middleton blown off the face of the earth. Yeah, that's something of an escalation, wouldn't you say?
Just a little bit.
Vickery said she faults Hamilton for fueling animosity towards the city during his interview with conservative radio host Vicki McKenna. Well, Vicki is also the platform, right? Vicki McKenna is the one that challenged patriots out there to go get their guns and to go join Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha. I mean, this woman is somewhat dangerous, I would say. And the fact that iHeartRadio continues to give her a platform, I mean, I'm not trying to cancel anybody, but I'm just telling you, this woman has crossed some lines to the point of being a public danger or providing a platform for those who are. See this candidate Hamilton guy? A little bit more. According to Vickery, again, she's with the Good Neighbor Festival. I would say I blame him for a law enforcement officer, wants to be, he's not yet, to come out and try to start something to incite people to come and cause problems. I think that's pretty sad. Vickery added the restrictions placed on candidates for office in the parade were intended to limit campaigning at the event and were not based on partisan affiliation. She said Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson was also invited to participate. Because what do you know? John Rojo Johnson is an incumbent. The incumbents have always marched in the parade. And if Rojo wants to come on down from Las Vegas, come down to my neck of the woods. Middleton, I know he comes down occasionally, sometimes to appear in Vicki McKenna's show. But if Rojo wants to come down, come march. Oh, yeah, I forget. No, that's now banned. Now, Hamilton, again, this is this disgruntled, soon-to-be loser candidate for Dane County Sheriff. Hamilton disavowed calls for violence made by others after he pushed back against the parade policy. So he incited it, and then, I disagree with what those people are doing. He said he advocates for such courses of action were not supporters of his. How do you know? And describe openly carrying firearms at the parade is an exceptionally bad idea. Those people did not represent me at all. So anyone that made any comments about showing up armed or anything like that, stay in your basement. We don't want you here. Keep your ideas at home. Democratic State Rep Diane Hesselbein, I saw her most recently on Election Day, soon to be Senator Hesselbein, I suspect, who represents Middleton, cast doubt on the possibility of violent acts unfolding at the Good Neighbor Festival and said she consistently felt safe in public appearances at similar parades. Here is Hesselbein's quote. I've always felt safe being in any of the parades that I've been in, whether it be Verona or Wanakee or Mount Horeb. I've never felt nervous in any way. Now, the Middleton Police Department official also said there's been little evidence to indicate any armed rallies or attacks will take place this weekend. But they're not posting it up on social medias like they did before the January 6th insurrection? Let me read a little bit more. I wonder what Vicky's inciting right now down the righty-whitey dial. Captain Jeremy Geisler described the threatening comments online as vague and lacking specific threats. Regardless, Geisler said the department is keeping tabs on the issue and said he does not condone open carrying at the Good Neighbor Festival, though the practice would be legal in Wisconsin. So if Vicky gets her audience riled up today and encourages them to all strap up with AR-15s and show up down at the Good Neighbor Festival, get yourself some corn on the cob, listen to a couple of the bands, take a couple of rides, and what? Cause just general mayhem. Just put people ill at ease because they don't want to be with an armed group at the Good Neighbor Festival. Kind of defeats the good neighborly point of view. Here is one more quote from Geisler from Middleton. Our number one hope is that nobody shows up open carrying. We definitely take it seriously. We're monitoring the situation. We would obviously discourage people trying to do that, trying to escalate this situation. And while the decision to remove political figures of all stripes from their parade stemmed from the desire to safeguard against violence, pardon me, choking on a bone. Vickery said Middleton will likely keep the ban in place in an effort to depoliticize the event entirely. I said you could pick the music, but this wasn't the choice I would have made. Come back, be a good neighbor. More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
I love a parade.
You're waking the neighbors up!
Oakley dokley.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
I am not Alex Jones.
But you play him on the radio.
And we are back. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you don't call us right now in this last segment at 844-967-2789, you're a filthy communist and you are supporting the enemy.
That's a reasonable impersonation of Alex.
All right.
But,
I got to work on it.
You lack the proper intensity. It's got to be more angry.
I need to be a little bit closer to a heart attack.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Be able to go back to the movies.
Introduce my family to my new girlfriend.
For my husband, who's been a chronic asthmatic his whole life.
So I can visit friends in a different state.
So I can take my granddaughter out to the park again.
So that I can hug my 85-year-old grandma again.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19.
What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday edition. Dom returns on Friday. He'll be back tomorrow, taking his young daughter to the airport, a trip overseas, Czech Republic. And I doubt, under the circumstance that I can't do any politicking with my local politicians in Middleton, I doubt I'll be attending the Good Neighbor Festival parade on Sunday, not under these circumstances. If you have opinions on this point of view, I just thought I'd lead there because it's going to happen in my backyard. Well, more up the street, but, you know, you get into the block. 844-967-2789. I'm just telling you, I'm getting sick of right-wing talk radio providing a platform for violence or the specter of violence or the threat of violence, be it the January 6th, the Good Neighbor Festival. I mean, here's what I would say. Remember it wasn't that long ago, the violent parade, the shooting that happened north of Chicago? I mean, that was just, a month or two ago? And then what did that guy do?
He came into our backyard.
He drove literally to the edge of Madison and Middleton, and he dropped his cell phone at about the spot that the Middleton Good Neighbor Parade aligns all the parade floats, etc. at each and every year. If you go check it out, it's right on University Ave. That's where the guy dropped his cell phone. And reportedly, the guy had come contemplating additional violence and just didn't feel like he'd done the proper research before, taking some pot shots at Lakeview Park in Middleton and some people out there celebrating on a holiday weekend. So it's not unprecedented that we would, let's say, have violence associated with an American parade. So to go encourage people and to provide a platform. I mean, if someone came on my show and said, hey, man, let's strap up and go marching. You know what? I'm going to cut that SOB off. I'm not going to encourage the behavior. I'm not going to be like Vicki McKenna and tell the Patriots to go take up arms and go to Kenosha and protect the car dealerships from Antifa. So anyways, gets me a little riled. 844-967-2789. Daniel Bice, Journal Sentinel, right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Bice has got the newest, the latest, the greatest. Apparently, he can answer the question of what Donald Trump said about Tony Evers and Rebecca Clayfish and the Wisconsin election in a call to Tim Michels. Apparently, it was a very public call, at least on the receiving end. Tim Michels apparently surrounded by a lot of supporters, some of who were videotaping this conversation with the former president, Donald Trump. Here is what Bice reports, and apparently he's seen the video. You'd think former President Donald Trump would have other things on his mind these days with, the recent FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and all. But on the night of the primary election, Trump didn't mind offering his latest take on the upcoming general election in Wisconsin. Early in the evening on August 9th, Trump called multimillionaire construction executive Tim Michels, whom he endorsed, to congratulate him on his victory over former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish in the GOP gubernatorial primary. About 20 Michels supporters stood in a circle. I think they call that a circle jerk. Stood in a circle and listened to the call at the Tucson Hall in Waukesha, including one ally who let the Journal Sentinel watch a video recording of the conversation. Trump had only kind words for Clayfish, offering none of the catty remarks he made about her during a private chat with Michels on April 5th. Instead, the former one-term Republican president said she ran a good race and, not surprisingly for the thrice-married Trump, described her as charming and pretty. She's very good-looking, actually. At least he didn't offer to take Rebecca furniture shopping, at least as far as we know. Then Trump turned to the general election contest against Democratic Governor Tony Evers in November. Trump told Michels he has never held public office, that his gut told him that Evers would be easier to beat than Clayfish. Now, the recent Marquette University Law School polling says Evers is up 45-43, a difference within the margin of error. Why is Evers going to be so easy to beat in Trump's estimation? Trump said he heard that Evers, 70, doesn't work hard, which comes ironically out of the mouth of a man who, takes lots of executive time, or at least he did when he was the president, because he had to watch the Boxy Friends and whatever
time.
else. Yeah. Down in the dining room. And then, from executive time, it was on to the golf course often, many times on the taxpayer dime. But Tony Evers, according to Trump, doesn't work hard. Now, Michels just turned 60. He celebrated the event at Carnivore, a restaurant in Milwaukee, on Saturday. He's a very lazy guy, Trump said of Evers, much to the delight of the small gathering, many of whom were holding their phones to record the conversation. Of course, this is news to Evers' team. I don't think they called the boss lazy, but here is what Kayla Anderson, spokeswoman for the first-term governor, said Michels should spend more time talking to Wisconsin voters and less chatting with the former president. Here's her quote. Instead of dividing communities like Tim Michels and Donald Trump, Governor Evers has done the hard work to make Wisconsin better and stronger. In his first term, Governor Evers cut taxes for working families, helped thousands of small business open their doors, and improved the quality of public education in our schools. And this wasn't the first time Trump had weighed in on the Wisconsin governor's race. Michels met with Trump in a private 75-minute meeting at the ex-president's Mar-a-Lago Club in April. Nearly 3 weeks before Michels officially jumped into the governor's race, Clayfish took her own pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago in March. And when chatting with Michels, Trump called Clayfish 48% Becky, a reference to the fact the former Republican governor Scott Walker and Clayfish got 48.5% of the vote in 18, narrowly losing to Evers and Mandela Barnes. Trump also complained about a tweet that showed Clayfish's daughter going to homecoming dance with the son of State Supreme Court Justice Brad Hagedorn. That was the actual crime, because Hagedorn was the decisive vote. Here in the state of Wisconsin, Trump lost the election by one vote. It was a 4-3 vote of the Wisconsin Supreme Court and Justice Hagedorn. Well, apparently he wasn't loyal enough. And he also went to prom, his son did, with Becky's daughter. Big crime. Come back.
Cut through the bullshit. Get the information that deep.
Sorry about that. I was 10 seconds off.
80 a.m.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Knucklehead CBD and Vapes is now online at knuckleheads.shop. Step into your favorite smoke shop without leaving your home. Find grinders, papers, Delta 8 and more, all from your computer or phone. With free shipping on all orders over $50, you'll be sure to find exactly what you like. You can also order for in-store pickup so there's no wait. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, located at 520 State Street in Madison. Order online today at knuckleheads.shop. With free shipping on all orders over $50, you'll be sure to find exactly what you like.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580.
I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. A judge has ordered the Justice Department to make public a redacted version of the affidavit it relied on when federal agents searched the Florida estate of former President Trump to look for classified documents. The proposed redactions are likely to be extensive. After 6 months of war in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to be trying to replenish his military. He's ordered a 13% increase in troop strength. People in parts of the Deep South are cleaning up after flash flooding sent water into churches, homes, and businesses. Several inches of rain fell within a few hours in Mississippi yesterday, and it's continuing today. Joe Davis, the fire marshal in Canton, tells WLBT,
when the water comes down that fast and that quick, it has nowhere to go. And that's when the water bag up
An up day on Wall Street, the S&P 500 gained 58 points or 1.4%, the Dow 322 points, 1%, and the Nasdaq rose 1.7%. I'm Ben.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnier with your headlines. Advisors to the Trump administration encourage GOP Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson into pushing health officials to reauthorize the use of an anti-malaria drug as treatment for COVID-19. The report released on Wednesday by the Democratic-led House Select Committee on the COVID crisis says Johnson forged a close alliance with Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who advised the Trump administration on the pandemic and constantly fought with former FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn and other health officials over hydroxychloroquine. The FDA did originally authorize the drug in late March of 2020. That approval revoked in June after they found hydroxychloroquine is unlikely to kill or inhibit coronavirus. Scattered thunderstorms today, 40% chance for rain at a high 78. Partly cloudy tonight, low 60. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday Eve edition. Dom will return on Friday. You can be part of this big show today, though. Got Evan here in World Headquarters, lightly screening your calls, 844-967-2789. Want to come back to the Wisconsin gubernatorial race. Allegedly, at least according to the reporting of Daniel Bice, and Bice apparently was privy to a videotape of the conversation between candidate Tim Michels, he's the GOP guy, endorsed by Donald Trump, and the former president on election night. And there's a little bit more here. Talked about the fact that Trump was very disapproving of the fact that the one vote, Brian Hagedorn's vote, because the other three conservatives on the Wisconsin Supreme Court more than willing to throw out the will of Wisconsin voters and the outcome of the election. It was only Hagedorn's vote that preserved the outcome of Wisconsin's election. But anyways, moving beyond that point, I should strongly encourage all you people to considering backing, let's say, one of the liberal candidates in the spring Supreme Court election in 2023. You know, the balance of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, the balance of the court could flip next April. So I know we haven't made it through the midterms yet. We still got to pick a governor and all that kind of stuff. But important stuff happening in the spring as well. That Supreme Court race could be for the soul of the state of Wisconsin. But let's get back to the the big party. Tim Michels getting a phone call from the former president. Now it says here, Hagedorn, who ran as a conservative, has been criticized heavily by Republicans after being a swing vote in high-profile decisions involving pandemic-related restrictions. That ain't what's bothering Trump. And the other thing, the disloyalty and Trump's efforts to overturn Wisconsin's last presidential election. Let's not forget, he's still endeavoring. In response, Trump attacked the Wisconsin jurist on Twitter late in 2020. Trump later endorsed Michels and came to Wisconsin to stump for him just days before the primary. You heard it right here on Devil Radio and the Shaw. And since the election, it appears that Michels and Clayfish have not exactly been on the same page.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
I think there's some butthurtness going on. I think there's some bad blood.
And Waukesha, I mean, they did hit pretty low, you know? It's interesting that he was so nice on this call because, yeah.
Well, Becky got trumped, if you know what I'm saying. On the night of the election, Barbara Michels, Tim's wife, got into it verbally with the Republican Party chairman, Paul Farrow, for entering the Michels war room, as reported by Wisconsin Right Now. Many Michels supporters believe Farrow backed Clayfish. In her concession speech, and I would bring your attention to this, fair audience members, Clayfish called for the Republican Party unity without naming Michels. A day later, Michels said at the state fair that Clayfish is trying to move on with her life without endorsing Tim Michels, without reconciling the party post-election. Now, there's a little bit more in this article here from Daniel Bice. The two have yet to hold a joint appearance. Don't hold your breath, people. Clayfish recently traveled to Texas to take her daughter back to college. It's been more than 2 weeks, complained a Michels advisor. But Clayfish allies said it doesn't matter if the two former political foes hold a joint event anytime soon. Asked one, who cares? Nobody cares. And the between the lines, if you haven't read it yet, folks, they're butthurt. They're not going to appear and reconcile the Republican base behind Tim Michels. So I've been pointing that out to you folks for weeks. Daniel Bice finally caught up to my fine reporting. Hope he's been listening to the big show on 540 AM and 101 FM The Shaw, and of course, Devil Radio right here in Madison, 92.7. Don't want to forget our friends up in the Northwoods, Bull Falls Radio 98.9 FM and WXCO 1230 AM in Wausau. Our fine host, Chad Holmes, riding the bus. The opening of the 8-man football season. Wausau, better check. I think it's Wausau East. Maybe it's Wausau West. But he's on a high school football bus, and he's bringing us the game starting at 7 o'clock tonight on WXCO. Let me clarify. Wausau West heading to De Pere to go play some 8-man football. I didn't know there was such a thing. Now we're going to broadcast it. One more. Locally grown radio, 97.5 FM, WFHR, 1320 AM. That's Wisconsin Rapids and Stevens Point.
That list is growing. Woof.
It's going to keep growing, man. You don't even know. You don't even know, people. It's going to grow like the Clayfish butthurt towards the Michels campaign. You know, it's interesting. I find it interesting. You know, I easily entertained around here. And, you know, I always appreciate your participation. So don't leave me hanging, folks. 844-967-2789. But Michels obviously had Donald Trump come to Wisconsin, come to Becky's backyard and campaign, stump on his behalf. And then he won the primary. And, you know, it was surprising, but not shocking, the fact that this political neophyte, and I know he ran back in 2004, but it'd been a long time, and he'd spent a lot of time in Connecticut in the interim. But the fact that this guy could come into the state, basically carpetbag his way to the gubernatorial nomination on behalf of the Republicans with a 3-month run and start? Although $15 million helps, that does a lot of the, let's just say, heavy lifting out state in the media markets. But I found this editorial, and I find it ironic that Michels so coveted the endorsement of Donald Trump, and immediately upon winning the primary, tried to pivot away and pretend like he never got or garnered the endorsement of Donald Trump. Well, the Cap Times here in Madison, the editorial board, they got a headline. I find it compelling. A vote for Tim Michels is a vote for Donald Trump. Oh, do tell more. Okay, I will. Harriet Hagman, the Wyoming political hanger-on who defeated Rep. Liz Cheney in last week's Republican congressional primary, was at least honest about how she defeated the far more prominent and capable incumbent. I did not do this on my own, she said after securing the win. Obviously, we're all very grateful to President Trump, who recognizes that Wyoming only has one congressional representative, and we have to make it count. His clear and unwavering support from the very beginning propelled us to a victory tonight. Hageman knew full well that she would have been a political footnote had it not been for Trump's intervention. And she admitted it. Too bad that Wisconsin Republican gubernatorial nominee, Tim Michels, a multimillionaire, he might have scooted up into the billionaire column, you never know, who has spent the better part of 25 years trying to win an elected post in Wisconsin, lacks Hageman's honesty. For many years, Michels has coveted a political career in Wisconsin, but things just didn't work out. In 1998, Michels ran for the state Senate, crashed and burned in a Republican primary, winning a paltry 30% of the vote in a contest with Scott Fitzgerald, who would go on to enjoy the sort of career that eluded Michels. And while Fitzgerald became the powerful majority leader of the state Senate and then a congressman, Michels schemed to try and jumpstart the political career he craved. In 2004, Michels bought the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate, that U.S. Senate seat held by Democrat Russ Feingold, while State Senator Bob Welch, a savvy and appealing conservative from Red Granite, would have been far more serious challenger to Feingold. Michels overwhelmed the abler Republican with heavy spending and a slick TV ads. Then Michels crashed and burned once more, losing to Feingold by more than 330,000 votes in a race that saw a significant crossover of Republicans who voted for the Democratic senator. At least he inspires the Republican base to vote for Feingold. Michels just couldn't get it together politically. So he moved to Connecticut, where he lived in a mansion and bought his way into the East Coast social scene. But now he's back in Wisconsin and running once more for political office. This year, he decided to run for the Republican gubernatorial nomination. It was a race he was destined to lose once more. But then Michels got a lucky break. Trump got mad at the Republican frontrunner, former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch, after the former president learned that, God forbid, Kleefisch's daughter had attended a homecoming dance with the son of a Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Brian Hagedorn, a conservative who refused to go along with Trump's scheming to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Trump endorsed Michels, and that made all the difference. Indeed, it did, folks. Now, Michels defeated the more qualified and capable Kleefisch entirely because of Trump's endorsement. I'd say $15 million helped.
Ooh, man.
But he was not as honest about the Trump connection as Hageman. In fact, immediately after the primary, Michels' campaign scrubbed references to Trump from the campaign's website. Only when details were revealed did Michels' campaign restore mention of the Trump endorsement. Michels claimed it was all a mistake, and of course, he tried to blame a staffer. It's always the staff's fault. If something goes bad, it's Ebone's fault.
That's right.
But the reality is that after he relied on scandal-plagued former president support to win the gubernatorial primary, he wanted to downplay the Trump connection during the fall campaign. Well, maybe he's a little smarter than we give him credit for. A little bit more here from the editorial board at the Capital Times. Michels has been forced to admit the truth. He sold his soul to Trump in order to resuscitate his failing political career. That important information for voters to have in November's election approaches. Even if the Republican gubernatorial nominee does not want the electorate to know it, voters should be aware that a vote for Tim Michels is a vote for Donald Trump. Say it again. A vote for Tim Michels is a vote for Donald Trump. 844-967-2789. I would love for this fall's midterm elections to be another referendum on the governance of Donald Trump. Oh, I do indeed hope that Donald Trump is effectively on the ballot. And what is the normal knock on the incumbent party during the midterms? Well, now their governance is on the ballot. Effectively, Joe Biden, who's been somewhat unpopular. I mean, the sort of animus that these Republicans gin up for Joe Biden is vexing to me.
I have criticisms, yeah, but you're right on the money. It's intense.
They pretend like Joe Biden's the worst thing since, and I'm thinking since Donald Trump, because this man had some real shortcomings. And you guys were more than willing to look beyond all the shortcomings of Donald Trump. But it was chaotic. Even guys like Ron Johnson hated the chaos being created by Donald Trump, especially on the social medias, on the Twitter stream. No Republican wanted to answer for the conduct of Donald Trump. You know, setting aside a few sycophants. Well, now that's all we're left with. Most of the GOP nominees that have garnered the endorsement of Donald Trump and won their primary are entirely sycophants. It's rigged 2020 election or bust, decertify the outcome of the last election. I mean, it's all predicated on this ridiculous proposition that somehow it was rigged and Trump was robbed. And they all do it because there is an engagement level that is uncomparable, uncompared. You know, Republicans have never found a way to gin up their base in the same way as just freaking lying to them and tell them they was robbed. You was robbed. They stole it from you. But back to where we started today's conversation, things like the Good Neighbor Festival. And we've got political candidates that are trying to be little Trumpsters. And they're threatening conduct, or they're encouraging conduct that leads to the same sort of broken society that we saw for 4 years or more under Donald Trump. So if you think that America wants to go back there, I don't. I think it would be disastrous for Republican chances. You want to see the end of the red wave? You want to see the blue riptide ripping back? You let Donald Trump be on the ballot. You make this an election about Donald Trump, not Tim Michels, not Vance, not Blake. It's about Trump. And just wait for the blue wave to come rolling in, baby. More devil's advocates on the other side.
Trump, 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 Trump. Pants, pants. Trump, 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 Trump.
You're waking the neighbors. Shut up!
A lot of talk about the COVID-19 vaccines, and everyone has an opinion. So I went to somebody I already trusted, my doctor. Talk to your doctor or healthcare provider and make the decision that's right for you. Go to getvaccineanswers.org for the latest information. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Taking your kids to their first baseball game.
Remember to get your copy of the souvenir program.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed.
This is awesome!
Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Jenny.
It's up to all of us. It's not just up to Democrats. Are we ready to rid our country of this perversion and deception? You know, are we sick of massacres at churches, grocery stores, theaters, concerts? Are we sick of adults forcing children who are raped into pregnancy? When is enough that we're going to vote out those fascists?
I'm putting you down for Caller Hall of Fame today. We have to carry these messages, even if the Democratic Party is incapable. You keep it up, sister.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice hard seltzer.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Mom, I need to be wiped. Coming.
Including checking NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show Thursday. That makes it Friday Eve. Dom will be back tomorrow, but you can be a part of this big show. 844-967-2789. And Donald Trump, contrary to CJ's greatest desire, Trump will be on the ballot right here in the state of Wisconsin in the personification of Tim Michels and Derek Van Orden. And Scott Fitzgerald and Brian Stile and Mike Gallagher and Grothman and Tiffany. You know the cast of characters.
Quite a list. Yeah.
What a fine list. 844-967-2789. Not a fine list. I'm being sarcastic. Profane Ronnie, how you doing, sister?
Hey, man, I'm living the dream. How about you?
Good. Hope the summer's not getting away from you. You know, Good Neighbor Festival and Labor Day weekend usually marks the end of the big summer.
I know. It makes me sad. I don't like the end of summer because I like summer. I wanted to share with you, it's, political related, but not exactly what you were talking about, but kind of. Kip and I went out for a motorcycle ride yesterday. And we live in Muskego, and so we headed south towards Waterford and Burlington, and then I think it was Lyons and Spring Prairie, and headed out towards Lake Geneva, and then kind of circled around and came back. And it was about halfway through that I realized I'm out in the burbs. I'm out in the red burbs. There were no signs for any Republican. There weren't any signs for any Democrats either. But, if a vote for Michels is a vote for Trump, maybe these people are wising up. Because normally I would expect to see a bajillion signs out there. Two guys had the Trump 2024 flag, but, they've had that since January 6th. But I was very much glad to see that there were almost no yard signs out there. Really surprising and, kind of uplifting.
Well, I've been encouraged, Profane Ronnie. I've been encouraged. I've spent a lot of time in outstate Wisconsin this summer. I've seen a few Tony Evers signs up in Kewaunee County, heading up beyond Green Bay, up the thumb, if you will. I've seen some Tony Evers signs in unexpected places, and I certainly haven't seen the propensity of the Trump signs. And it seems like something about the January 6th hearings, like some of the signs just kind of disappeared, Ronnie.
Yeah, that would be fantastic if people are finally extracting their heads from their arses.
I'm not going to hold my breath about that either, though, Ronnie, because the vast majority of Republicans in this state still support Donald Trump and would hope him to be the nominee. And if he's going to endorse Tim Michels, well, that's good enough for the Republicans in this state, Ronnie. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of hope that Trump does run, and it's Trump Biden, because he's got so much baggage. He cannot win a second time. He just can't.
No, my greatest hope is that he decides to run before the midterms and thrust himself on the ballot, not just through endorsements of J.D. Vance and guys like Tim Michels, but also literally inserts himself between now and the midterms.
I don't think he will, because when he announces, then he doesn't get the RNC money that they're paying for his lawyers, and he doesn't get his PAC money, which he's just pocketing. It's not for any defense team or anything like that. I don't think he'll do it until when other people start announcing, next summer or fall or whenever the heck they start. I don't think he'll do it before the midterm. I wish he would, but
I think he's going to go down to Ron DeSantis's backyard, and when he feels like the legal pressure is mounting and someone might indict his ass, and that's coming, Ronnie, I strongly suspect.
Oh, yeah.
Then I think Trump goes down to Florida and he makes an example of his boy DeSantis. And that
would be fantastic.
And the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, if anything, has galvanized the Republican support of Donald Trump. And of course, everything he said about the search warrant was a bold-faced lie. I mean, he's deflecting his criminality in the real time, Ronnie. But as the evidence comes out, and as the tomorrow, apparently a redacted version of the search warrant's been ordered to be released by the judge down in Florida. But this evidence will eventually come out, and probably is far more likely that some of this is going to leak out between now and the midterms. Although Republicans, when faced with evidence, they just stick their heads back in their arses, I think you called it.
Exactly. And you know what? Trump going down to Florida to announce would be perfect because I can't stand Ron DeSantis. And so many of my Republican friends think he's the next Jesus. And it's like, no, we can't have him. And one other thing, how you said, even though the evidence comes out, they don't extract their heads. My husband is not a Trumper, but when I asked him, what do you think about all these documents? He said, you shouldn't believe everything you hear on your lefty radio. I mean, there's so much lies out there. And I'm like, yeah, and they're all coming from Trump. He goes, no, that's not true. I'm not saying he did nothing wrong, but this is way blown out of proportion. And I'm like, okay, end the conversation. Otherwise, I'll choke you.
Don't choke him off, Ronnie. Don't choke a bitch. 844-967-2789. Leave that for Trump and the Secret Service agents. PT from Portland, Oregon. Welcome, PT. What do you got for us?
Hey, Krug. How you doing?
Good.
I just want to say, tying him to Trump is one thing, and then how he came out on abortion. He's tying his policy or his stance on abortion to that 1849 archaic law, and he also said that he will not make exceptions for rape or incest. The Democratic Party is playing that over and over and over again. So am I. And you have to hammer that home. He's, as far as I'm concerned, he is cooked unless he spends another $20 million of his own money. I don't know, but he is asking other people now for donations. He had this stance. Well, I'm not going to ask anybody for some money.
He was capping the donations at 500, and now since he won the primary, he said no, all bets are off. Let's take her up to the state limits at 20,000.
That's right. Yeah. So I just tying him to Trump and the abortion law and his flip-flops or his kind of denial of Trump now is just going to show a lot of contradictions in him. So, great show, guys.
Thank you, PT. Thanks for listening. Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Some people say greatest radio show ever. Not always when Dom's absent, but, we'll get by. We'll roll through the happy hour, and the next thing you know, it'll be Friday, and Dom will be back complaining about the fact he's got to work on a Friday. More Devil's Advocates. Hour 2 is next. Rolling into the happy hour. If you want to join, 844-96-PARTY.
Dear Lord, baby Jesus, or as our brothers in the South call you, Jesus.
I don't think Jesus would be very happy with Donald Trump one bit at all. Zero.
Devil Radio has been kicking ass, earning every listener, and providing our sponsors return on investment 3 years now on the Madison airwaves. And there has never been a better time than right now to advertise with us and join the Devil Radio community. Our audience is loyal and growing every day. Active listeners that don't flip. Wonder if your ad dollar working? Devil Radio listeners will tell you it works. Ad production is included. Devil Radio will make it easy for you to start seeing return on your investment. Call today.
If you think you need a home inspection, you probably do. Hi, I'm Todd Osborne of Orion Inspections. And buyers, sellers, and even flippers, I'm talking to you. Knowledge is power when it comes to real estate transactions. You'll get an image-packed, searchable, digital, printable report of the condition of the house, things to keep an eye on, any safety issues or defects, and the knowledge to make smart, informed decisions. Your instinct is telling you to get an inspection, and instincts are usually right. Learn more or schedule today at orioninspections.com.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. In Ukraine, fire damage caused the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to be temporarily cut off from the electrical grid today. Meanwhile, the death toll from a Russian rocket attack on a train station in the central part of the country climbed to 25. Russia says it was a military train, claiming to have killed more than 200 Ukrainian reservists. And after 6 months of war, President Vladimir Putin has ordered a 13% increase in troop strength. In this country, a judge has ordered the Justice Department to make public a redacted version of the affidavit it relied on when federal agents searched former President Trump's Florida estate. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer now with news from California on electric vehicles.
California regulators have approved a plan requiring all new cars, trucks, and SUVs to run on electricity or hydrogen by 2035. Regulators are aiming for a dramatic cut in carbon emissions and an eventual end to gasoline-powered vehicles. The decision by the California Air Resources Board came 2 years after Governor Gavin Newsom first directed regulators to consider such a policy. If the goal is reached, California would cut emissions from cars in half by 2040. The move gives the most populous U.S. state the world's most stringent regulations for transitioning to electric vehicles. The policy still needs federal approval, but that's considered very likely under President Joe Biden's administration.
The Commerce Department has upgraded its estimate of the second quarter gross domestic product, but it still shows the economy shrinking 0.6%. Rita Foley on how the jobs market is doing.
Fewer Americans applied for unemployment last week as the labor market continues to stand out as one of the strongest segments of the economy. For the week ending August 20th, applications for unemployment fell by 2,000 to 243,000, says the Labor Department.
Gains a bit stronger on Wall Street today. The S&P added 1.4%, the Dow 1%, and the NASDAQ 1.7%. This is AP News.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive talk radio from Fitchburg to DeForest, always streaming at DARNWI.com.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Brian, what the heck are you doing?
I'm making a patio.
When I told you it was patio season, I didn't mean we had to make one of our own.
But I got all this grout all over me now.
Yeah, but I meant we need to go see Hawk at the all-new Jade Monkey on Cottage Grove Road. They've got an awesome patio, and it's the perfect place to stop for a cocktail after the show.
Jade Monkey has a patio? Why don't we go there?
Exactly. Now put down those power tools and let's go grab a drink.
That's all right. I was done anyway. Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay. President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
When you're gonna turn on the radio, you gotta listen to Devil Radio 92.7.
For Civic Media, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Wednesday, a federal judge signaled he will rule by the end of next week that disabled voters will be able to have their absentee ballots returned to their local clerk by a friend or family member. The ruling stems from a lawsuit brought by 4 Wisconsin disabled voters in July, arguing the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling from earlier this year requiring individuals to return their own absentee ballot to their local clerk violates the Federal Voting Rights Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Since the 2020 election, Republican lawmakers and conservative organizations have been cracking down on absentee voting and attempting to make it more difficult to vote in Wisconsin. The Racine County man, Harry Waite, who publicly admitted to committing election fraud by requesting absentee ballots that were not his for the August 9th primary, said yesterday he was subpoenaed by the Wisconsin Department of Justice. Scattered thunderstorms today with a 40% chance for rain and a high of 78 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 60 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Thursday edition Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We're into the happier happy hour. Evan here in the world headquarters, lightly screening your calls. So, barely. Hell, you've let some people through. I've really got a question. At 844-967-2789. We'll take more of your questionable call-ins here in this big hour. But I wanted to talk about Donald Trump. You know, ever since what did they call it, the raid at Mar-a-Lago, this man's been losing his schnizzle, if you know what I'm saying. Overnight, he went to the social media, the truthy social media. What's he called? Truth Social?
I think that's it, yeah.
To tirade, a little truthy tirading overnight from the former president. Former President Donald Trump wasted little time today, once again attacking the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of investigation for executing a search warrant on his Mar-a-Lago resort to retrieve top secret government documents that he had refused to hand over. I'm going to quote Trump. Even though I am innocent as a person can be, and despite my campaign being spied on by the radical left, the FISA court being lied to and defrauded, all of the many hoaxes and scams that were illegally placed on me by very sick and demented people, and without even mentioning the many crimes of Joe and Hunter Biden, all revealed in great detail in the laptop from hell, it looks more and more like the fake news media is pushing hard for the sleaze to do something that should not be done. Trump began. That's just the beginning. Just freaking warm it up. And it wasn't close to being done. I'll stop doing the Trump voice for now. Joe Biden said he knew nothing about the break-in at Mar-a-Lago. It's a break-in. My bad. FBI raid. Now it's a break-in. The greatest political attack in the history of the U.S. Does anybody really believe this? And you know he's serious because he drops 3 question marks. The radical left, I'm doing it again. The radical left, Democratic prosecutors are legally trying to circumvent for purely political gain. The president, really? This guy's going to quote the Presidential Records Act, under which I've done absolutely nothing wrong. It cannot be circumvented for me or any other president. Then again, he repeats the claim. They illegally raided my home and took things that should not have been taken. They even broke into my safe, an unthinkable act. Unthinkable. It's unthinkable.
Oh, my goodness.
In fact, the search of Mar-a-Lago was conducted legally after the Department of Justice obtained a search warrant from a judge who thought that there was, what do they call it? Oh, yeah, probable cause of a crime. And that they would uncover evidence of multiple crimes. Trump then followed up this post with an all-caps message that simply read, Presidential Records Act. I don't
that
know
thing
why.
that you're accused of completely flouting. All right.
Yes, that thing. Trump concluded his truthy social tirade with yet another attack on the DOJ and the FBI. The Justice Department and FBI are leaking at levels never seen before, and I did nothing wrong. Now, he must forget just how leaky. I mean, his entire administration was a sieve. So, anyways, I think I think he protests too much.
Leaking like Giuliani's hair, you know?
Very good. I like what you did there, Evan. 844-967-2789. Evan setting a clever pace. Join it, Joe from Madison. Welcome back. What do you got?
Oh man, interesting show. I'll start off based on this last comment you had with your ex-president describing the legal search warrant that was issued on his property as, quote, the break-in of Mar-a-Lago. And it comes back to how we describe things. You know, I think the discussion over the break on for people with college debt, is that described as a socialist handout, or do we describe that as a handout, or as a handout to help people out of poverty? And I think it comes back to this Good Neighbor festival that you were talking about at the head, Mike. I would remind people that the fight for gun control was started by Republicans, particularly Ronald Reagan in California. And it started back in '67 because the Huey Newton Gun Club was in operation. And it's worth remembering that the Black Panther Party that got going was first described as the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. And they were called Black Panthers for short. And they were all about a public display of guns as a central tenet of who they were and what they were. So that's been, and the white people around him didn't like it, particularly Ronald Reagan, and that's where gun control started out. But it's an interesting thing because Black Panthers were kind of good neighbors for the people in their community. They had, breakfast kids, programs for school kids. They had programs after school. They had ambulance services and medical clinics, that sort of thing. So I think when we come down to Vicki McKenna and folks describing who should be in a good neighbor parade, it might be worth taking a really broad look at that. You know what I'm saying? A really broad look. And is one guy with his AR really worth it, or are there people who are working in the community who should be celebrated? And I pity the poor people who were running that just a parade, and now it's become this political nightmare. And I'm so sorry that such a joyous event has been tainted in such a way. It hurts. It's too bad. It really is way too bad. So my thoughts.
Joe, I'm going to be honest. I participated in a decade worth of the parades in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, they're okay. You know what I mean? They're okay. I know it's a tradition, but parades are still hot and sticky affairs that, get a little tedious.
If you were 5, you'd like them. If you were 7, you'd like them. You'd have a different POV then.
Oh, my kids liked them when they were little shavers. Yeah. Mom and dad got a little bored, but, more fun when you get to throw the candy at the other kids. I think they liked being the dolers of the candy. They were like Santa Clauses amongst kids, they got to throw candy out to the other kids like, I'm your God, take some candy.
Well, it is unfortunate though that has been made into this snarl as has been described, because it's just not worth it. It's just, why can't you just have an event without somebody insisting on bringing their AR, right?
Well said, Joe. Why can't, I hate to even pile on and keep rehashing the calls to violence being made on the right-wing airwaves with consistency. It's not a one-off. The fact that Vicki McKenna would provide a platform for a sheriff's candidate that said basically go arm up and go defy the Good Neighbor Parade officials in Middleton, to the point where the Good Neighbor Parade has basically canceled the ability of any politicians to walk in the parade. And their deal was it was incumbents only. I mean, hell, Rojo was invited. But, one Yahoo inspired by Vicki. And the next thing you know, you can't feel safe in my backyard. 844-967-2789. 2789. Mark from the SAC, welcome back, Mark. What do you got?
Hey guys, yeah, and that's a shame on the parade there. It's just idiotic. You feel you need to be these guys feel it necessary to carry their firearms over. But these clowns probably think the Lee Marvin character from The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance was the hero of the piece, because here was a guy was using his firearms to enforce a political will on the people in the town that they lived in. He was beating up people, breaking up the press. That's what the call for violence is what these guys insist on. And this defense of Trump, I mean, I'll point out once again that none of those documents, those presidential documents, unclassified or classified, should have been in Trump's possession anymore. None of them, absolutely none of them. Any of those documents was a violation of the law, because he had no business having any of them, period. And for all the people that don't believe that, oh, no big deal, well, he should not have had any of that stuff, period. Pure and simple, none of it. I mean, I don't care if it was unclassified. He should not have had those records, period. I mean, they shouldn't have left the White House.
No, I don't disagree with you, Mark. I think you put a period on it. 844-967-2789. A little update. The search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, supposed to be, at least the redacted version, supposed to be released tomorrow before noon. Here's the latest from CNN. Justice Department ordered to release redacted Mar-a-Lago search warrant affidavit. The Justice Department must release the redacted version of the Mar-a-Lago search warrant affidavit by noon Friday, a federal judge ruled. The affidavit lays out why investigators believe there was probable cause that crimes had been committed. I think Mark just mentioned them. It's probably the evidence sitting down in the Foot Locker or the unlocked storage room in Mar-a-Lago that everyone had seen. And this, just for the record, is not Trump's house. It's a social club. He charges admission to come join the club and hang out in the mansion. So anyways, early Thursday, the DOJ submitted its proposed redactions to the U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt, who issued the order for public release. Justice Department spokesperson Anthony Coley said, the United States has filed a submission under seal per the court order of August 22. The Justice Department respectfully declines further comment as the court considers the matter. Well, Trump's not afraid to go out there and talk about it. The Justice Department prosecutors have emphasized that they need continued secrecy as to not disrupt the ongoing criminal investigation. Remember, of the former president, criminal investigation, especially as they keep confidential grand jury activity and protect witnesses who have or could share information. You remember the old Trump administration leak like a sieve? I think we talked about that too. Can't trust that guy. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. You can trust me. I'll be back in 2 and 2.
Is it serious? Is it safe?
Yeah, probably.
I'm just texting him back. I'm just posting a story. I'm just changing the song.
No. When it comes to distracted driving, just don't. Sending a text takes your eyes off the road for just 5 seconds, but in that time, your car can travel the length of an entire football field. Any distracted driving just isn't worth it.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at P4PPC.org.
My fine guest, Maggie Dawn, attorney at law. I thought that the laws of the United States were supposed to evolve with societal norms. The vast majority of Americans, 70% approximately, believe that Roe v. Wade should be the law of the land. So that seems exactly contrary to the way the courts are supposed to evolve with our nation.
I'll just say this. The guy in Colorado can't be forced to make a gay wedding cake, but I can be forced to make a baby. I don't know about you, but that makes no damn sense to me.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Thursday Happier Happy Hour. You can always be a part. Lightly screened right here at 844-967-2789. The Washington Post at this hour, a new update from Fulton County. And there have been accusations against the investigation, the Fulton County investigation, in the election tampering of the former president. And there have been lots of people subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury down there. Lindsey Graham's gotten a subpoena. He's fighting that subpoena. He's trying to quash that subpoena. Doesn't want to testify. Doesn't want to be caught, is what I suspect. Also, the governor, the current governor of the state of Georgia, doesn't want to testify that, Donald Trump pressured him. Brian Kemp we're talking about. Well, Kemp is worried that if he goes out there and publicly testifies against Donald Trump, the grand poobah, the cult leader, well, that's political suicide for him. And so anyways, he's trying to quash the subpoena also. But the headline, the newest, the breaking from the Washington Post, Georgia judge skeptical of claims of political bias in the 2020 election probe. The probe of the tampering by those that, actually showed some bias. But anyways, the judge presiding over the grand jury investigation into possible election interference by Donald Trump and his allies expressed skepticism today over arguments from Republicans that the prosecution, led by a Democratic district attorney, was politically motivated. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert C.I. McBurney did not immediately rule on the request from Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, he's a Republican, to toss a subpoena for his testimony from the Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. It is not my space to focus on politics, McBurney said, as the lawyers for Kemp argued that the subpoena had already become a political issue this election season. I don't think it is the right forum to debate the political ramifications of the case, said the judge. So really, it's not his job to go dig in and figure out what ramifications that could have. Something about ruling on the law, I think he's supposed to do. But anyways, more reporting from the Post. With the midterm elections approaching, the investigation has expanded dramatically, reaching Trump's inner circle and edging closer to the former president himself. Hours after the hearing ended today, the prosecutor's office requested subpoenas compelling testimony from Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, lawyer Sidney Powell, and cybersecurity expert James Phil Waldron. So did you catch that? New subpoenas being dropped today. This is new stuff. So I'm going to repeat that. The Fulton County DA, Fannie Willis, has issued subpoenas for Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, lawyer Sidney the Kraken Powell, and cybersecurity expert James Phil Waldron. More from the Post. In recent days, a new wave of political and legal tensions erupted into public view, with Kemp's attorney and others accusing prosecutors of politicizing the sensitive case. Kemp, who resisted pressure from Trump to overturn Georgia's election results, is considered a key witness. I think he might be. Prosecutors said in a filing this week they would like to ask the governor about calls he received from Trump and others pressing him to contest the state's election results. But here's the problem, folks. Kemp's running for re-election against Democrat Stacey Abrams, a former state lawmaker and voting rights advocate whom he narrowly beat in 2018. Last week, Adams tweeted that the governor's refusal to testify shows that he will do anything to win an election. Now, Kemp wants credit for standing up to Trump, but refuses to testify against the former president and said he would welcome his endorsement. Yeah, that's damning. Right, Tim Michels? It can be a little damning. So remember, a vote for Tim Michels or Brian Kemp is a vote for Donald Trump, but a little bit more. In court on Thursday, lawyers for the governor cited Abrams' comments as an example of the politicization of the ongoing inquiry. Yeah, other political candidates talking about their rivals. See how politicized it got? Here's the quote. What began as an investigation into election interference has itself devolved into its own mechanism of election interference. That's a stretch. The governor's lawyer wrote an 121-page motion seeking to kill a subpoena for the governor's testimony, or at least delay the matter until after the election. Because he doesn't want to give testimony. Willis denied any political motivation in court filings that became public last week. Let's discuss the ways you are wrong. This is not a politically motivated investigation. It is a criminal investigation, Willis wrote in a letter released as part of last week's motion. It was not clear from the hearing today, which lasted more than 2 hours, whether Kemp's efforts to invalidate the subpoena will prevail. In July, the judge rejected a similar request from the lieutenant governor and a former state senator to toss subpoenas. And earlier Thursday, McBurney issued a decision rejecting a request from 11 of Georgia's 16 Republican would-be electors who sought to disqualify the prosecution team because of political bias. Prosecutors say these electors may have been part of a plan to cast electoral college votes for Trump in Georgia and other states, despite Joe Biden's victory. Lawyers for the electors deny any wrongdoing. We did nothing wrong, citing a pending court case over the Georgia election at the time they were certified. The roster of electors included Georgia Republican Chair David Schaefer, candidate for LG, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, county-level GOP officials, and the former state lawmaker and local Republican activist. The ongoing inquiry, McBurney wrote, is inherently political in simple and unremarkable sense that politicians and leaders of a specific political party are alleged to have undertaken efforts to defeat the will of Georgia's electorate. Yeah, how's this not going to be a political trial? Brian Kemp, you are not above the law either. I hope the judge sees through this effort to what? Exempt the man? Because I got a big election I got to go win. Come back with us. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show. More time for your calls on the other side at 844-967-2789.
I will do anything it takes to win.
And when you're a star, they like to do it. You can do anything.
So why don't you just leave me alone?
Like, wow, Scoob, it's Devil Radio. Rebel Radio.
Dark Horse Art Bar is Madison's newest live music venue and art gallery. Check out these events at the Dark Horse. Sunday, August 21st is Lee Brains with Gloria Fires. Tuesday, August 23rd is Two Johns and a Nancy. Thursday, August 25th is Nate Ming and the Stolen Sea. And Friday, August 26th, it's Jason Vargas and the Apollos. Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington Avenue in downtown Madison. Online at darkhorsemadison.com.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. President Biden has begun a campaign push ahead of the midterm elections. At a fundraiser in Maryland, he touted his legislative accomplishments while comparing current Republican ideology to semi-fascism. Heavy rain in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida is causing flash flooding. Marty Pope with the National Weather Service in Jackson, Mississippi.
Most of that went into what we call the Upper Pearl River Basin, which actually funnels right through Jackson. So we're expecting that river to crest at 36 feet on next Tuesday, and that right there would put us at major flood.
Revised numbers show the economy shrank 0.6% in the second quarter, but the job market remains strong with unemployment claims down last week. Wall Street closed higher, the S&P up 1.4%, the Dow 1%, and the NASDAQ 1.7%. And mortgage rates are climbing. Freddie Mac puts the average 30-year at 5.55%, the 15 now at 4.85%. I'm Ben.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-890-6688. That's 800-890-6688. 800-890-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. If you've been lying low with a post-primary hangover, Brad Pfaff's got a message to share. Break's over. Game on. The Democratic candidate in the 3rd District met up with Democratic Congressman from the 2nd District, Mark Pocan, to outline the ways Republican nominee Derek Van Orden has behaved on a scale ranging from extreme to disqualified. The incidents include his presence at the U.S. Capitol January 6th, an epic temper tantrum at a local library over a Pride Month display, doubting the story of a young Ohio girl who was raped and needing abortion care, and trying to bring a loaded handgun onto an airplane, for which he's still on probation. Van Orden's response was to take a shot at trans women competing in sports. And the Racine County man who illegally obtained absentee ballots on behalf of other people says the State Department of Justice has subpoenaed him. We have these stories in our newsletter. To get signed up for it, go to upnorthnewswi.com, hit newsletter in the top banner.
"60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday Eve edition. That makes it Thursday, I believe, all day. So anyways, we'll get through it. We're nearly at quitting time. We'll take you all the way to Friday at 844-967-2789. Going to the phones right now. Matt from Minneapolis, listening on AM 950, I suspect. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, that's great. Yeah, my 60s band plays Paint It Black, so that was a great bumper thing for. But I got 2 questions for you guys, okay?
I'm ready for them, Matt. Bring them.
Oh, okay. The first one is, who is this CJ guy who keeps calling your show and then you guys get in fights? And the second question is, do you think Trump is ever going to land in prison for any of this rubbish?
Let's start with CJ, Matt. CJ is a local troll here in the Madison, Wisconsin area. I think he lives under a bridge nearby. So we occasionally allow him to join the show because he's got so little going right for him in life. Above and beyond that, you ask me whether or not I think Donald Trump's ever going to end up in prison. And I've been fighting with my buddy Dominic quite a bit about this. Pardon me, a little smoker's cough. Matt, the issue I have with the current Mar-a-Lago stuff is that it is quote unquote a paperwork crime. And in fact, Trump garnered legal advice. He has a lawyer from the Heritage Foundation, I believe, telling him he didn't have to return any of these documents. So I worried that we're getting a little caught up in these minor crimes, and they are minor crimes. I don't know if he's trying to sell state secrets to Russia, that sort of elevates the crimes. But if we're just talking about seizing and taking paperwork that should have belonged to the archives and the American people and taking it, no, I don't think Donald Trump will ever serve a day in jail for the paperwork crimes. But Matt, I'm praying to whatever God may exist that history will judge Donald Trump and that he will be convicted for the incitement of an insurrection and the plotting of a coup against democracy. That is the real underlying crime. And it's not just the violence of the coup of the insurrectionists at the Capitol that day. It was the underlying plotting, the intended violence against democracy. Matt, that's the real crime. That's what the man should spend the rest of his life in prison for, to my humble opinion.
Right. Well, anyway, okay, thanks for talking to you guys, and keep up the good work.
Well, keep playing Paint It Black, man. That's a great tune. Matt, thank you for listening. Be like Matt. Join us at 844-967-2789. And some of you are going, Crudy, I didn't hear Trump had legal advice. He's got plausible deniability on the Mar-a-Lago, the document seizure. Well, he does. Let me read a little of that to you. Today, CNN reported that former President Trump got his advice to hold on to boxes full of classified documents in Mar-a-Lago from Tom Fitton, a right-wing legal activist, and wait for it, a frequent Foxy News guest. They used to invite me to come around. Fitton, the longtime head of the legal activist group, Judicial Watch, had a simple message for Trump. It was a mistake to give the records to the archives, and his team should never have let the archives strong-arm him into returning them, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. Those records belong to Trump, Fitton argued, citing a 2012 court case involving his organization that he said gave the former president authority to do what he wanted with records from his own term in office. So again, I'm not trying to bore you with the details. It really doesn't matter whether or not Fitton's legal opinion is that Donald Trump could retain the records or not. I think his opinion is erroneous. I think what's being described and the reason for probable cause in this search warrant is because there was clear demonstration of a probable crime on behalf of the former president. But when it comes to what should be the rationale and reason, if Donald Trump's indicted, if he is convicted, if he is incarcerated, let's make it for the real crime. But anyways, back to Fitton's opinion. While Trump continued to publicly tout his cooperation with the archives, privately, the former president began obsessing over Fitton's arguments, complaining to aides about the 15 boxes that were handed over and becoming increasingly convinced that he should have full control over the records that remained at Mar-a-Lago, according to people with knowledge of Trump's behavior at the time. Ironically, Fitton's group has spent years trying to force Hillary Clinton to submit depositions about her use of private email servers for government business, which had previously triggered a federal investigation into whether any classified information had unintentionally been retained by the server. Judicial Watch was litigating the matter as recently as last year. Then the Supreme Court left in place a lower court order denying Judicial Watch's deposition request. Here's a quote, again, from this article here, originally reported at CNN earlier today. Trump didn't completely stonewall the government, as Fitton had advised, turning over some material in June following a meeting between his lawyers and the federal investigators at Mar-a-Lago. But after a Trump lawyer claimed all classified material had been provided, investigators developed evidence suggesting that was not the case, leading to the August 8th search. Well, they developed evidence like an insider. Somebody's inside the Mar-a-Lago residence, right? Somebody narked on the former president. Somebody said, hey, did you look in the closet? A little bit more. This comes amid other reporting that the former president is privately telling his associates he's worried about the investigation into his retention of documents, even as he publicly blasts the FBI probe as illegitimate and politically motivated. You didn't see his truthy social stream. Well, he saved some time. It's not really worth reading, but he's out there rambling and quite angry. Butthurt, one might say. 844-967-2789. Let me try that again. 844-967-2789. CJ, welcome. You got me rattled, man. What do you got for me today?
Well, thanks for taking my call, Rudy. It's all about timing. This is a distraction from our economy, inflation, the so-called, Student Bribery Act, the loan forgiveness. It's a bribe. Really, you even
it's an effective bribe. It may actually work, CJ. Is that what bothers you, that the Democrats actually cut a break to, let's say, student loan borrowers instead of rich CEOs or foreign corporations? What part of that bothers you precisely?
Well, I would love to see you watching a Republican candidate go down the parade at the Good Neighbor Festival. I'm sure you'd be so respectful and kind that you'd be a wonderful example to your kids.
Ron Johnson came on my show more than 25 times, CJ, mostly in studio. If I was so disrespectful to my Republican friends, I don't think he would have come around.
Well, I've heard how you talk about the sheriff candidate. And
he hasn't come around, nor has he been invited.
McKenna.
Well, Vicki McKenna likes me a lot more than I like her, and her and Dominic have been friendly. But I got to tell you, CJ, the fact that she is often inciting or encouraging violence or arming up and going to attend events.
Encouraging violence.
Well, she did tell the Patriots
encouraging violence.
Here, let me finish. I'll give you the answer. You ready for it, CJ? Look up what Vicki McKenna said regarding Kenosha and Patriots go and get your guns and go out and protect some businesses. This shouldn't be left to Kyle Rittenhouse alone. Now, to me,
I bet the business owners wish someone would have, because it wasn't.
What, you think business owner CJ wanted some vigilante ass 17-year-old coming into their city and shooting people? CJ, you think that was a positive step? You think that right-wing talk radio hosts should be encouraging their audiences to arm up and go be vigilantes in the street? Because I tell you what, if somebody's burning my business, CJ, and I own a couple of businesses, but if someone's burning it down, I'm insured. It may come as a shock to you, but that would be a recoverable loss. And sure, I don't want to see my business burned down. No one does. But CJ, to go protect another person's property without their consent or request and kill people in the process, yeah, that is a violent, insightful encouragement of violent behavior, and Vicki McKenna has done it more than once. And she should be deplatformed. She should be canceled, CJ. Now, I'm not calling iHeart, Heartless Radio, how they continue to allow the culpability of broadcasting this violence inciting host on the air. I don't know why they let her do it, but if I don't care for her company, CJ, it's mostly because she incites others to violence. And she won't get vaxxed. And, she denies the outcome of the last election, hangs out with Sheriff David A. Clark quite a bit. Doesn't like your boy Robin Boss much. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. CJ, I hope someone brings you like a warm blanket. Because, sleeping under the bridge, that's really got your butt hurt. 844-967-2789. Robert from West Dallas. Welcome. What do you got, Robert?
Hey, yeah, I guess I think what bothers them so much is that this is directed towards, working people and not the elites.
You mean the 10,000 in student loan forgiveness announced by Biden yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess my question is, why do the people on Fox News and the right wing want America to fail so much? I mean, Biden's been racking up win after win after win. And if you remember, a couple weeks ago, the jobs report for July was released. And, I thought Maria Bartiromo's head was going to explode because it was positive news and she didn't know how to wrap her mind around it. And, on Larry Kudlow's program, they're talking between, 100, 250,000 jobs. The jobs report came out, it was 528,000 new jobs. So I just really, that's all they got. When you don't have a platform, you have to, create issues and, run on fake economic issues, I guess.
Well, anything that the current president, Joe Biden, would do, and again, Robert, you've heard me say it on this program, I have no idea why Republicans hate this man. I mean, I didn't find him to be that inspiring of any strong emotions. But anyways, his efforts to help the American people in any modest way, well, of course, that's got to be attacked. That's got to be eviscerated. It's got to be misconstrued because, Robert, people actually find Democratic policies popular. ACA, popular. What the Democrats and the candidates, for the most part, are advocating for, very popular with the American people, very popular here in the state of Wisconsin. And as you know, Robert, what's not very popular is taking away a woman's right to choose autonomy for her own body, taking away people's right to vote or disenfranchising them or, making disabled voters disenfranchising, making it impossible for them to vote absentee in the state of Wisconsin. All of those things, I hope, sir, cumulatively start waking up the electorate. And people realize, Republicans don't give a damn for your outcome or what you want. Really, it's just about retaining their power.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Apparently, I've left him speechless. Normally, to leave a man speechless, I got to cut him off on the phones. I do that too. CJ occasionally.
Cut him off.
Cut him off. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We're not done yet. They're not taking this microphone away until like 5:59. So come back with us. Join us on the phones. Try to keep your trolling to a minimum. It's Friday Eve, man. We should be winding towards the weekend. Looking forward to good times together as Wisconsinites. Drinking a little too much, going to a high school football game maybe. Badgers kick off in like 2 weeks. Looking forward to that as well. Come back, more Devils. One last segment, then you can go home.
If mama name clean, I'm gonna call it clean. He's at home, washing his tights.
Fatality.
What is dedication?
I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
But do you think the Biden administration's called up Laura Ingraham and making the announcement to the world that we're invading Russia with amphibious troops? Come on, Trump. I mean, and I want to hear fine Trumpsters that want to defend that crap. He's a little late for the early bird buffet. Maybe you people were just naive marks who believed he was a super genius. Then I got some land I'd like to sell you outside of Fukushima.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, last segment, Thursday edition. Your call still welcome here at 844-967-2789. Want to be accurate. When I tell you, our fair audience, that right-wing talk radio host Vicki McKenna often encourages arming up, encourages, if not violent behavior, then violent adjacent behavior. Well, here is specifically what she said in regards to Kyle Rittenhouse and the violence in Kenosha. We are, quote unquote, celebrating nearly the 2-year anniversary of what happened, the unrest, the initial reaction to the shooting of Jacob Blake. But here's what Vicki McKenna, right-wing talk radio hostess, air quotes, had to say after Rittenhouse went out shooting. Now, this is in the context of some of her sponsors canceling their support. A Madison healthcare firm has decided to pull the plug on conservative talk radio host Vicki McKenna. Group Health Cooperative of South Central Wisconsin said Friday, and this article is dated from August 28th of 2020, about 2 years ago. Group Health Cooperative of South Central Wisconsin said Friday that it's dropping all of its funding from McKenna's Madison radio station in response to her comments about protests in Kenosha. There should be consequences, said Ellen Waring, Chief Business Development Officer of Group Health Cooperative. This was over the top. So what was over the top? Well, let me tell you about Vicki McKenna's incitement to violence. On her Wednesday show, McKenna came to the defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 of Antioch, Illinois, who was charged Thursday with intentional and reckless homicide and shooting at a Kenosha protest Tuesday that killed 2 people and injured a third. I'd say maimed a third. The 17-year-old was charged as an adult under Wisconsin law. Now, you may recall that he has been vindicated, or at least exonerated, found not guilty of the charges, but McKenna wouldn't have known that then. McKenna said Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense. That was borne out in court, at least per the ruling. But here's the problematic part. Beyond that, the veteran talk show host encouraged patriots and militia members to get their guns and ammo and head to Kenosha to defend life and property. Here is her direct quote. By the way, where are all the patriots who brag on Facebook, hey, bring it, baby, lock and load? Where the hell were you last night? McKenna asked. She continued, have you cleaned your guns lately? Do you have enough ammo? Beyond that, McKenna suggested that cop-hating, anarchist-loving Governor Tony Evers and pathetic idiot puppet Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, both Democrats, should be put on trial for what happened in Kenosha. Waring said that McKenna has the right to say what she wants to say about the Kenosha protests, but he also said he had the right to pull his funding from her radio stations. I don't think iHeart gives 2 squats. Group Health Cooperative has a package deal with iHeartRadio to air ads on its AM and FM stations, and Madison Waring said. He said he informed the station owner that it wanted to pull all its firm's advertising from WIBA. The healthcare firm, Waring said, currently serves as a sponsor of the station's news desk. Well, at the end of the day, I appreciate the effort, GHC, but I would point out iHeart is a big cluster of a conglomerate. So pulling advertising revenue from one arm of the octopus doesn't exactly kill the octopus. So just keep that in mind. But GHC, better to pull your ads than continue to support an insurrectionist, violence inciting right-wing talk radio host. Just saying. 844-967-2789. Here's another one. Lou from Cudahy. How you doing, Lou?
On my game, sir. Hello, sweethearts. It's always good to listen to you bedwetters. I've got bad news for you.
Bring it.
Ron DeSantis and the 1776 Project PAC, PAC, has flipped a bunch of seats and won several conservative majorities on these school boards in the following locations: Bay, Brevard, Clay, Duval, Flagler, Hernando, Hillsborough School Board, Martin, Miami-Dade, Okaloosa, Polk, Putnam, and Sarasota. To say it another way,
Lou,
the parents have taken back.
Lou, tell me what that's got to do about Wisconsin and a talk radio show here, man. DeSantis, I get you want him to run for president, but what does school board super PAC meddling in Florida have to do with me?
It has to do with your agenda, which is being taken back. The kids are being taken back by their parents. And he's also started the situation where veterans and active service members can hold temporary teaching certificates. So you're losing control of the teaching system also.
You mean by putting unqualified teachers in? Because, I mean, I'm a veteran, Lou. That doesn't qualify me to teach anything. Really, it doesn't.
Really?
You know, simply serving in the U.S. Army doesn't qualify me to be a teacher. No, Lou, that is a skilled profession. And the fact that a Ron DeSantis or really anyone wants to undermine a skilled profession like teaching is really at the expense of the children. You get that, Lou, right? If you put less able teachers in place.
What I get is that putting the children at the expense, costing them their education with woke activists preaching leftist ideology, that's a problem for me. How about you?
Well, you'd have to define what woke activists, whatever the hell you just said, Lou. But I would say that children have the right to be taught history, even inconvenient history. History that doesn't make, me feel good about myself is still the history of our nation. And I know that lots of Vicki McKenna fans, people like you, Lou, you complain and you hearken on the critical race theory and the wokeness. But that's really learning our country's history, Lou. And those that deny our history are repeating it, probably. You know the old saying, those that don't learn history are bound to repeat
ideology. They're teaching ideology.
How so, though?
Lesson plan stuff.
They absolutely. When's the last time you were in a classroom, Lou? Really? I mean, are you taking
the comments? I take the comments from parents who come out of the classroom after hearing what they're being taught, and it's just shocking. They don't want to have that put in their kids' head because they care about their kids' education.
I care about my kids' education. I talk to my children about what they're being taught in the public schools, and it's not ideology. It's history, Lou. It's called history. And, those that don't study it, as my buddy Matt Flynn would say, are, not woke. If you don't know history, you ain't woke. And I know you see that as a derogatory term, Lou, woke. They're woke. But that just means you're asleep at the switch, man. The opposite of woke is to be asleep and to deny the reality that this nation has become and the society you live in. And if you don't like the history, Lou, well, I bet it's been a long time since you had to go to a history class. But thank you for listening to the greatest radio show ever. You do have good taste in that regard. Stick around. Native Roots Radio is next. And then in the Shaw, Joel Clayfish, raised in the Shaw. Here we replay the Paul Revere show. Mark Thompson, please keep it locked.